It's time for The Local with your host and realtor, Katie McKinney.
Welcome to The Local with Katie McKinney, your local real estate professional. Today we have Logan Hamilton, who is with the Oklahoma Farm Bureau. Logan, thanks so much for being here.
It's good to be here. Glad to be on the show. I've never done a podcast before, so this will be a good first time.
For me too. So thanks for coming on. Beginner's luck here. So, Logan, I mean, we know each other, obviously, outside of business. Logan's wife, Allie, is my operations manager. So, and obviously my husband, Josh, and Logan are great friends and have become great friends in the last couple of months. But, you know, I really don't know your story as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where'd you grow up? How did you get to Woodward?
Yeah, so I grew up in Mangum, Oklahoma, and so Mangum is about 2 hours south of here on Highway 34. And we grew up in my parents did several different jobs growing up, but the thing that kind of tied us to the area was the farm and ranch that we had down there. My grandpa had wheat and cattle, and a lot of people still do. They still farm wheat down there. Most people up here do not farm wheat except just to have a little bit more feed for their cattle.
Right.
And so we grew up doing that, and that's just something that I always loved about Oklahoma, the farming and ranching type communities. And there's a lot of people that do trade work, and I just tend to, even though I don't necessarily work in those fields, I've always kind of gravitated towards those people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I grew up around, went off to college, got a degree in psychology.
Interesting.
And so after I got that degree, I was kind of thinking about some things. Allie and I were dating and had a good idea that we were going to get married, and we started looking at different opportunities between Oklahoma, several different states, and Colorado, something we landed on because at that time, I believed ministry was something that I wanted to do, and working in a church context was something that I wanted to do. And so we did that for 2 years and loved it. But then we had the opportunity to move back to Oklahoma and specifically work for Oklahoma Farm Bureau as an insurance agent, and it was a good situation in Woodward, and we loved the area. We're familiar with the area, realized we knew a lot of great people here.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the culture of Farm Bureau because insurance is all about relationships, and Farm Bureau has a long history with farming and ranching in Oklahoma, and so that was just something we were excited about, moving back here and being able to do being able to live in the community, work in the community, and get involved in the community was just something that we were pretty excited about. So
I bet both of your parents were really excited that you're moving back to the area as well.
My grandma, she's lived in Greer County her whole life, and she thought Woodward was halfway to Denver. She didn't know. She didn't know that it's much
really
closer.
close.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Just a weekend trip to see her.
Exactly.
Well, that's excellent. I mean, obviously, I met Logan and Allie. I knew Allie from high school, but Logan when we went to look for their home here in Woodward, and I know at that point they had a lot of different options as to where they wanted to land or could land. And, they chose Woodward, which is amazing. It just kind of speaks to the type of people here, kind of the culture here. And I'm very appreciative that you guys chose Woodward, and it sounds like it's been a good fit for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've loved it. And that's kind of the thing when we were looking at different opportunities in different communities. We weren't just going to jump at the first option, and we wanted to make sure it was the best thing. And, because we were in a good situation in Colorado. We loved it there, loved the people, but at the end of the day, we just decided that opportunities like this in places like this don't come up that often, so we decided to jump at the opportunity to come to Woodward specifically. So
awesome. Well, we're happy you're here. So, obviously you were in ministry there in Colorado, and, insurance, it's one of those things, it's similar to real estate where it doesn't a lot of times most people don't start out, I'm going to be an insurance agent or I'm going to be a real estate agent. They just they get there through a certain, avenue in life's decisions. But what led you specifically to insurance in general?
Yeah, so we had kind of been able to talk a little bit, Allie and I, who's actually in studio today recording. So
What's up,
I
Allie?
have to watch my mouth here a little bit. But we had decided that, you know what, there are several things we want to do with our lives, and we knew the whole time that if we were able to come into a good insurance agency with a good company, then we would be able to stay in a community for a very long time and really become involved in the community. So to me, a lot of it is, I understand people ask me all the time, how's it going? How's the business? And that's just a question we get every day. But, people often look at insurance and think of sales and sales alone, but there's so much more to the business that allows you to be around people 5, 10, 15, 20 years as you take care of their insurance needs. You really get to know them too, because that's something that I really pride myself on, is being able to look at people and say, hey, if you want to bring your policy in, come bring it in. And if it's a good one and it's something I can't beat, I'll let you know. Because eventually, 5, 10 years down the road, you want that trust to be built up, because maybe they'll need something then, but maybe they won't.
Yeah,
It's
just that relationship.
Exactly. And so it really is just about getting out there and meeting people. And, sometimes you can help people and sometimes you can't. But at the end of the day, if you make it about the relationship more than anything else,
Exactly.
then that's really what defines success in this industry. So that's probably the biggest reason why we wanted to switch to this, and it was a mutual decision as well. Allie and I kind of sat down and said what would be a good fit long term, and so we had looked at that, and then this opportunity came up, and it was just a situation where we said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that.
I love it when a plan comes together. So, obviously I'm in real estate, you're in insurance. We kind of come together a lot of different times in different ways, whether it be commercial insurance. Maybe somebody needs to get life insurance due to a recent purchase or just in general. And then also the residential, insurance and our residential real estate, they come together quite a bit. A lot of it is, potential deductions when somebody's going maybe to buy their first home, maybe they're upgrading or just, buying a rental property or of some, some kind. One of the first questions they say is, what will insurance usually run? And, what I always tell them, it depends. It depends on the deductions, kind of the different insurance incentives that an insurance company will get. But I always tell them, go see an insurance agent and kind of get an idea of what this property may run, because that's going to be a huge factor in their monthly payment. Maybe not a huge factor, but it will be. It might make the difference. Yeah, it might make the difference between, what they can afford or what they can't afford. So I always go into, tell them you need to go see your insurance agent. So, one reason I had, and I'm happy to have Logan here on the podcast today, is I want him to kind of talk a little bit about, for our listeners, a few insurance deductions, incentives that you might be able to find in a residential property, because that seems to be one of the main questions that we hear.
Yeah. So that's a good point, and something that you said that I really want to hammer on, and I can't stress this enough. Katie said, see your insurance person. I don't care who it is in town. Make sure that you're dealing with a person. I really do believe in doing insurance face to face, and no matter what company it's with, who your insurance advisor is, make sure it's a person. And the reason why I say that is because there are sometimes good deals on the internet, but you don't necessarily know what you're getting. So,
good point.
So make sure that you have somebody you can really trust and talk to, and that goes a long way. So, as far as deductions go, I think there are a lot of things we can talk about as far as insurance goes. So I just kind of want to keep it simple and really talk about one aspect of your home. And so your home, for most people, that's going to be the largest investment you ever make.
Yes.
In Woodward, sometimes it's a little unique because we have landowners, and
Right.
landowners, they invest more in land than they do in their homes just because of the sheer amount of land they have. But for the average person, your home is your most important investment. So before you really start looking at deductions, make sure that it's properly covered. Make sure that you trust the person selling you the policy, and make sure that you know that you're getting the best coverage you possibly can. So if you're getting the best coverage you possibly can, there are a couple things to look at. One thing I know that most companies in general do, I'm not even going to talk just about my company, but I know that a lot of companies offer discounts if you have what's called a Class 4 shingle. And
Yes.
so a Class 4 shingle is resistant impact, and something we have big time in Northwest Oklahoma is hail. And so when we have those hailstorms that come through, your roof gets beat up. And so the reason I think it's important to talk about the roof is, in my experience, that's usually a claim that people can't do anything about. It's all weather related, and it's most likely going to happen at some point. But the reason why insurance companies give you a discount on those Class 4 shingles is because they can really withstand the impact of a hailstorm, of different things that hit them. And so that's one way to really look at deductions. What type of roof do I have? And another thing to look at with your roof is just to say, do I have replacement cost, or is this going to be depreciated when I have a claim?
Huge point.
That's an important thing to ask.
Yeah.
Whoever your agent is, what kind of policy do I have on my roof? And so just with those two things, I think that's an important start. And there's other kind of discounts, and companies anymore have a lot of different things they look at in their clients to give rates and to give deductions. I mean, some people give you longevity scores. The longer you've been with the company, the better rates you get. And so, sometimes loyalty to a company, especially one that's been good to you on claims, can really help out in your favor. And I think that's a big thing to look for in insurance is look at price. Yes, if you can get the exact same policy from two companies and one company's $1,500 a year cheaper, your decision's a lot easier.
Right.
But make sure you know their claims history. Will they pay out on a claim? Because that's when insurance really comes through, especially for a home, which is most likely one of your largest investments.
Right.
And so that's something that I would definitely say. And then there are other simple things in general, like an alarm system.
Right.
Companies will usually give discounts for alarm systems, and now the ones that report directly to the fire department, the police stations, that's a good way to get a discount. And so those are really the ones that you can look at. And a lot of companies will also give you home and auto discounts. So if you write their home and the auto, they'll give you a discount on both because of that. And so you may know that from the term bundling that you see on the marketing of different insurance companies on TV. So.
Excellent. Those are both. I mean, those are really good points. And I think what's interesting is who's going to be there. You got to make sure that your insurance company is going to be there, and you've got that relationship when something does go wrong, that they'll be there to help you through that process. And I think it goes back to that person. Make sure that, there is a person at that policy. And of course, as real estate agents, we can't tell you legally go to this certain insurance agent. We say, you need to kind of shop around, and, insurance agents. And I think it's important, as Logan mentioned, there's not going to be just a clear-cut answer a lot of times. Sometimes, they may be valuing your property higher or lower, or, maybe it's at a cost approach or a replacement approach on that actual policy. So be looking at a lot of those different things and make sure you go to someone that you trust, and don't be afraid to shop around. Just as Logan said, you can bring in a couple policies, maybe the one you have currently and a new one, and they can compare and contrast what's best for you. But either way, there are some insurance incentives and deductions that you can have. And he mentioned the roof is one of the biggest questions that we get, especially here in Northwest Oklahoma. It seems like you need a new roof every couple of years. It seems like in the last 5-10 years, really, especially. So those things are really important. Kind of last final little kind of category I want to talk about is life insurance. So, Logan knows my health because I got life insurance with him, and it's kind of funny because one of the things that they say, okay, if you're going to get life insurance, you got to have your blood drawn. And to me, I'm like, dun, dun, dun. I don't know. I can't do it. Anyway, he pretty much encouraged me through that whole process. But that is a really important thing. If you don't have life insurance, you definitely need to look into it. And obviously, there's some benefits to life insurance. But what would you say one of the main ones is?
Well, I think there's really two different life insurance policies in general that you can look at. It just speaking in broad terms, there's
Right.
permanent and there's term. And so term policies, you can look at it like in real estate terms. You're renting the coverage. You don't own it. You have it for a period of time, usually 10, 15, 20, or 30 years. But after that term is up, then you no longer own the coverage. So you're most likely going to outlive a term coverage.
Right.
The reason why it's good, though, is because you can get a lot of insurance for a low cost.
Okay.
So when people buy a home, when people buy land and things like that, and they want to protect their family in case they do pass away, the unexpected happens. It's better to get a term policy at that point because you can get 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 at an affordable rate. And so that's why a lot of young people, especially, I really recommend get term policies.
Yeah.
Get term policies. Permanent policies, like I said, you own the coverage. They are a little bit more expensive because if you continue to pay the policy premium, then when you pass away, your family, your survivors will inherit that, what's called a death benefit.
Okay.
And so, but also another thing about whole life policies, which I think a lot of people call them, I call them permanent policies. Another thing about permanent policies is that there are also living benefits. There's what's called cash value that accumulates. So you can pull out a loan that's tax-free and then pay off different debts if you need to, and then pay back into the policy to make sure that you still get that death benefit. So there's a lot of pros and cons about both, and it really just depends on what stage of life you're in.
Yeah.
What your needs are, and those are just general ways of talking about life insurance.
Right.
But
Right.
that's also something I would say. Talk to your I almost said real estate professional.
That one too.
Talk to your insurance advisor about those things and
Mm-hmm.
say, what's the best thing for my situation?
Mm-hmm.
And don't necessarily rush into anything.
Right.
Sit down, have some appointments, and say, you know what, this is what I think, and kind of talk through it with your family, talk through it with your insurance agent, and say, what's the best option based off of my debts, based off of what I want to leave behind, based off of multiple factors.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah,
It's important. And, sitting down, with your insurance advisor and talking about, the positives and negatives, what's going to happen, and then the priorities too. What are your priorities? And that was one thing that I really liked, is, putting 1 to 10, what are your priorities? Is it to be able to, if your significant other or you pass away, even what's going to happen? And those are all good things to share. So is there anything else that you want to add, Logan, on that?
Yeah, I would just say that it's the reason why I believe in having appointments when it comes to life insurance and really taking time to decide what the best thing to do is you'll understand this just like I will. There's a term in sales that salespeople use, and at the end of the day, just like Katie, I am in sales. I don't, and there's a term that we all use called commission breath. And you can tell when somebody's trying to sell you something as opposed to trying to help you.
Yep.
And so the reason why I believe that appointments and really getting to know whoever it is that is servicing you, whether it's your investment advisor, whether it's your real estate professional, whether it's your insurance guy or girl, whoever it is, make sure that you're having regular appointments with them and developing trust to where you know that, hey, they're not just trying to, make a commission off of me. They're
Right.
really trying to help. So that's why I believe that having those appointments with your trusted advisors is really the best thing that you can do.
Man,
So,
that's really big. I love that.
yeah.
I love that advice, most definitely. So as we finish up here, I just wanted to ask, as a young, kind of newer business person, local now, but newer to the area and newer to Woodward, why do you think Northwest Oklahoma is an ideal location for starting a business, growing a business?
Yeah, it seems like Woodward is a town where for a lot of years, a lot of people have done very good in the industry. They've done very well. They've been here a long time, and they're looking around and saying, "I want to leave these businesses. I want to leave these customers in good hands."
Yes.
And I think there's a great opportunity for young people to come in and not just take over a market, but learn from people who have been here doing it a long time. I can think of several people that are near retirement age that would love to leave behind their businesses, that would love to train somebody they would love to have someone learn under them. And I think that's a big piece of it. But also another big piece of it is that you can come in here and you can have an online business and you can just live in Woodward.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with e-commerce and the way the market has shaped and the way the world is now, that you don't have to live in a certain area to do business.
Yeah.
And so if you want to live in wide open spaces, if you want to drive down the highway in the evening and not get road rage, I mean, that's been a great move just for us, because driving in Colorado Springs traffic could be stressful. Here, sometimes you drive to get away from the stress, and so it's a slower pace of life. But if you're looking to come out here, one of the conversations I just had with a local banker here is that Woodward is really wanting to diversify right now. We're kind of the hub of Northwest Oklahoma, but there's so many opportunities for trade people to move in, for industries that aren't necessarily oil or gas or cattle, and so, but if you're in those industries too, there's opportunities as well. But
most definitely, yeah.
but that's the big thing, is there's an opportunity in Woodward to really make a mark, because there are people that are really looking for young people to come in and take over and really kind of drive Woodward forward as a generation retires.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
a great point.
Yeah.
And we share the same love for Woodward, as why it's maybe an ideal location for a lot of different people, but especially young people, young professionals. So, Logan, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Our first podcast is over, and it went well. So good job in that, and I appreciate all that you're doing for Woodward and investing in Woodward. And thanks for coming.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.